Math needs to be taught at an earlier age in the United States. Majority of people would think that learning and teaching a universal school subject is not a big deal or a deal at all for a first world country like the United States. However, statistics and studies show differently. According to the NPR News, last visited on August 31st, 2014, American students lag far behind from their international peers in math. Currently, the United States ranks 25th in math among the developed nations. William Schmidt, a Michigan State University professor who studies how U.S. students match up against those of other countries, says most American 8th graders cannot do relatively simple tasks such as adding and subtracting fractions. This is something that students of other countries master by the end of their 4th grade. This is a hint that maybe the way that we are teaching our students math here in the United States is not as effective as the way that other countries are doing it. This is why today I am going to tell you why I think that math needs to be taught at an earlier age in the United States. I'm going to do that by first comparing the way math is taught in Iran, the country that I was raised in, versus America. Second, how kids are able to learn new perspectives and new tools in a younger age. And third, how the problem of math being such a hard subject can be solved if we taught it a couple years earlier. Let's go to my first main point. How math is taught in Iran versus America. Let's look at the United States pedagogy. As most of you might be familiar with this, high school students in America need to pass Algebra 2 as far as math requirements goes to be able to get their high school diploma and graduate from high school. However, according to the Natural Assessment of Educational Progress, last visited on August 31st, 2014, just under half of American 8th graders can do what students can master by the end of their 4th grade. Now let's look at Iran's pedagogy to have something to compare with so that you can also understand what I'm trying to say. In Iran, all basic math and Algebra 1 is taught in elementary schools. Now, according to Zahra Guya's article, which I found in EBSCOhost, last visited on August 31st, 2014, high school geometry and Algebra 2 are mandatory in middle schools throughout the country. Now let me kind of walk you through how high school works in Iran. In Iran, after students finish their freshman year of high school, they get to pick 1 out of 3 streams, which is either literature, biology and environmental studies, or mathematics and physics. Now, based on Zahra Guya's article, depending on the stream chosen in high school, math levels vary and they are all trigonometry level and beyond. This educational system requires Iranian students to pass a higher math level by the end of their freshman year than American students have to pass in order to graduate from high school, which is an Algebra 2. This means that a student who has just finished their freshman year in Iran will know more math than a student who has just graduated from high school in America. Now let's go to my second point, of which how little kids learn differently than adults do. According to Brian Mayer's article, Teaching Mathematics as a Way of Thinking, last visited on August 31st, 2014, math is a way of thinking and sense-making. Teaching STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math subjects at a younger age increases their grasp. We can also see this in the everyday life that we're in and how 5-year-olds are way better with using technology, like they know how to work their parents' iPhones and iPods, and they are way better in using their laptops and computers than are people who were born 30 years ago. This is because technology is embedded in them and they're raised with it. If technology is part of the STEM subjects, and so is math, then we can do the same thing with math. According to Livestrong.com, the way math should be taught to younger age groups is not making them sitting down in class, it's making them feel it. So if we can teach the little kids basic concepts with visuals, experiments, toys, and games, they will digest this information and they will have this in their brain for the rest of their lives. And these kids will grow up and be more likely to be interested in learning more about these concepts and learning the whys behind these concepts than are the kids who are shoved a whole bunch of equations and functions and formulas when they got to high school. Now let's look at my third point of how I think that teaching mathematics in a younger age group would affect and would make math an easier subject for them. According to Economics of Education Reviews, last visited on August 30th, 2014, students who have taken a higher math course during high school have a 17% higher chance of graduating with a 4-year college degree. However, only so much can be done in a 4-year high school period, so we cannot expect our students to go all the way from, let's say, Algebra 1 to, let's say, Calculus, because that takes 5 years. This is why I think that teaching math in schools should start at an earlier age and that courses taught should be shifted back a year or two. By shifting the curriculum in America's educational system as far as math goes, in a way that students finish Algebra 1 and the basic geometry by the end of their middle school, we can make sure that they will go farther with math and Algebra 2 in their high school years. Therefore, they will be more successful. Although for this requirement to be met, we need to shift the math that is right now taught in middle schools to the elementary schoolers. And the way that we need to teach our elementary school kids is very different than when we can teach older kids. Therefore, we need to start teaching our kids and start making them learn and grasp the concepts that cover math and physics so that they can grow up, build upon those, and be more interested and learn more as they go along life. So the little kids who would understand that if they are to go on a steeper slide, they will come down faster than if they were to go on a less steep slide. The kids that know that playing on a teeter-totter with a way older or way bigger or way smaller kid is not much fun. The kids that know that a balloon will go up because the air inside it doesn't weigh as much as the air that they're surrounded with, those are the ones who will be interested in learning more about these topics when they grow up. Those are the ones who will be more interested in learning math and equations and functions and all that, because they want to know the whys, and they were raised with it, and they were adapted to it. They know that way of thinking. This is because they have had the perspective and that understanding all along and show interest to it, obviously. In conclusion, lack of interest in math is not a little problem that we can just not look at. According to newscot.com, last visited on August 30th, 2014, unfortunately, United States fails to encourage its students in math, fails to identify and encourage kids who could become the world's top scientists and engineers. This is not something that we can afford to give up on. We can change this by using successful countries' methods and applying a similar method that will suit our society. If other countries can do it, so can we. In this speech, my attempt was to persuade you that math needs to be taught in an earlier age, by first comparing the way math is taught in Iran and America, second, saying that how little kids learn compared to older kids, and third, saying that math can be easier if it were taught in an earlier age. Thank you for listening.